Hello, this is going to be a short video over chapter 7 and 8 over axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. Chapter 9 is going to be in a different video. So let's take a look at chapter 7 and what information you're going to need to know for this upcoming test. So with chapter 7, it's just going to be on axial skeleton. So we're just going to be talking about bones of the head, rib cage, vertebra, and sacrum. So there's only two objectives. You really just need to know that if I were to give you the name of a bone, you should be able to tell me whether it's in the axial or appendicular skeleton. That's pretty much all chapter 7 is going to be in terms of the lecture test. The other objective is you need to know one definition out of the chapter, and that's going to be what Wormian bones are. So again, looking at the different bones, you can see here some bones of the axial skeleton on the left-hand side of the image. These are just some of the different axial bones. And then you can see the list of appendicular bones, which are going to be in chapter 8. So there are 206 bones in the human body. 80 of them are going to be axial skeleton bones. 126 are going to be appendicular skeleton bones. The axial skeleton bones are going to include bones of the skull, bones of the ear, auditory ossicles, the hyoid bone. Remember, that's the bone that doesn't articulate or form a joint with any other bone. It's the only one out of the body that does that. All of the bones of the vertebra and the rib cage. So that collectively makes up 80 bones. So I just listed here just some of the various names of the bones. Again, you should recognize these from lab. These are your cranial bones. These are your facial bones. So again, if I were to give you, let me back up a page. If I were to give you and say nasal bone, you should be able to tell me that's a bone of the axial skeleton versus appendicular. If I were to say zygomatic bone, you should be able to tell me that's an axial skeleton bone as opposed to an appendicular skeleton bone. Okay, now let's take a look at what Wormian bones are. As you can see here, you're looking at the back of an actual human skull. You can see that sagittal suture right there that's dividing the two parietal bones to where you have a left and a right. Remember, that's what a sagittal plane does, is it divides the body into right and left halves. And you can see that sagittal suture does that. You can also see your lambdoid suture, which separates your occipital bone from your parietal bones. Remember, this is the one that kind of looks like an upside down V. Now, if you look at these sutures, you can see these extra bones that have formed within those sutures. Those extra bones are called Wormian bones. So Wormian bones, by definition, is an extra bone piece that occurs within a suture. These are not normal, but again, not completely abnormal either. You can see here this first skull. You can see that it's just the regular cranial bones. Now you can see in the second image that's larger, you can see these yellow bones. Those are Wormian bones. They are extra bones that form within sutures of the cranial bones. So question number 1, extra bones that form within sutures are called, and the answer would be B, Wormian bones. So that's pretty much all of chapter 7. Now chapter 8 is over the appendicular skeleton. Again, very good. Chapter 7 and 8 are very good for lab, helping you identify bones within the skeleton and things. But for the lecture test, the only thing you need to know is if I give you the name of a bone, you should be able to tell me what skeleton it belongs to, the axial skeleton or the appendicular skeleton. The appendicular skeleton includes the bones that are represented in pink here. They're going to be bones of the pectoral girdle, which is also known as the shoulder girdle. That's the same thing. So that's going to be the clavicle and the scapula and the humerus bone that forms that girdle there. And then the upper limbs are your arms. So that's going to be the bones that make up the arms, the humerus, the ulna, the radius, and your carpals and your fingers. The pelvic girdle, which is going to be your coxal bones as it connects with the femur, the head of the femur bone there, forming that pelvic girdle. And then the lower limbs are going to be the bones of the leg and feet. The job, again, is to protect, just like all the bones, protect vital organs and things. And in the appendicular skeleton, you have a total of 126 bones. This right here is just showing you the different appendicular bones, clavicle, scapula, humerus. These are going to be maybe a little bit tougher In terms of if I give you the word femur, are you going to be able to put it in the right skeleton? Is it going to be part of the axial or appendicular? You should know that it's appendicular. And the reason why I say it may be a little bit tougher, because we have not done appendicular yet in lab. Normally when we do this chapter, you're still on axial skeleton in lab. So you might be in appendicular, but most of the time we aren't quite there yet. So these are the bones that you would need to know the names of that are on this page here in terms of identifying them for appendicular skeleton versus axial skeleton. So I'll give you a second to take a look at this one. Okay, so the hyoid bone is part of the axial skeleton. Patella, that's the kneecap. That's going to be part of appendicular. Clavicle, that's going to be your collarbone. That's part of appendicular. Ethmoid, that's going to be the bone that sits behind the nose. That's definitely axial. And tarsal, those are going to be the bones of the ankle. They are going to be appendicular. And that's all of chapter 7 and 8.